Everyone, you're listening to Big Blend Radio special Toast to England show. The Nancy and Lisa were the publishers of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. Plus, we have special guest co-host Glenn Burrows of Norfolk Tours in England sitting in as our special guest co-host. Now, you just heard Fireman. It's the latest single by UK rapper and hip-hop artist Jake Aldridge, and it also features Lisa Ambrose. I encourage you to go to their website. Go to jakealdridge.com and also watch the video. Very well done video. And Jake, welcome to America. How are you?
I'm doing really good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, doing good. You know what? It's a real pleasure having you on the show, and I've been enjoying your music. It seems we can understand what you're saying, which is great, because sometimes when it gets to rap and hip-hop, I'm like, what? You know, but I can understand everything, and I think both songs we're going to play Illogical as well. Very strong feelings, very strong words, and tell us a little bit about Firemen. As you know, we love Firemen, but this is a little more important than our love for Firemen.
Fireman was produced by a guy called 92, who's actually a producer from Bristol. His real name's Sam Hatfield. He sent me the instrumental for the track. Someone I've worked with for many years. He sent me the instrumental for the track. Do you know what? I was really pleased with the way it came out, and I kind of knew before I released it or before it went online that it was one of my better songs, purely because I usually play my songs to, my close friends and stuff like that, and after years of doing that, you kind of get a feel for their response and their reaction. So that got me really excited about the song.
And I think it's when you have a personal connection too, it always kind of touches, and makes it go forward. Let's talk a little bit about even how you got into music, because that's also a very personal story too, about you actually putting pen to paper and then eventually getting into the actual music part of putting the beats and the lyrics, putting the melody to your lyrics.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, my father passed away when I was 11, and I think the years after that, I was kind of always looking for a way to express myself and to get my feelings out there. And I think that's what writing really did for me. I know you touched on this earlier, and I think that's exactly what it did for me. It was a way for me to express myself in a positive way, and I really enjoyed the feeling of being creative. I began rhyming all of these words, and it seemed like I was always into hip hop and rap music, so it seemed like quite a natural thing for me to do, to kind of perform them in this way.
And I think that's really important to talk about, the lyrical content, and number one, your melodies are very strong in what you're doing.
So it's something that it comes naturally to me now, and I'm very lucky because I've never been that musically talented, do you know what I mean? Like, music's not really in my blood or in my family or anything, so I've been lucky to work with fantastic producers who write the music for me, and that's just what I've done over the years, is write the song, and that's kind of what I do. I always find the process daunting when there's nothing, when looking at a blank page, but it always seems, the words just seem to come to me, so I'm very fortunate in that way.
I love that, because I think it's channeling, right? And I think there's always got to be someone who starts it off in a family. And I think that's something important with what you're doing, is you are able to go out there and work really hard, because what you've done, you have to work really hard, and you'll be able to connect with the people who want to connect with it. So I think you've done an amazing job with that. And your music rocks.
Thank you.
You have the whole world.
Yeah.
I know when our magazine was in print, we were doing 70,000 copies, and we worked years to get to that level. And then we had to physically take the magazines and put them places and get rid of the 70,000 copies. And then when online became a possibility, we jumped to over 1 million people, and it didn't take that long. And so we went, 70,000 copies plus the big printing bill versus the internet.
Yeah.
And it was, you didn't have to think twice about moving on.
Yeah.
However, online, there's also a lot more competition that's visible to you, which is also really good. It sounds bad, but it's actually really good, because competition always makes you better.
Yeah, how do you feel you stand out as compared to, other musicians doing? I have to be honest, I've never heard someone sing and write and perform what you've done. I've never heard anybody sound like you at all. So I have to just right off, I mean, I'm not a major hip-hop rap junkie, but I know hip-hop and rap, and you don't sound like anyone else that I've heard. And I mean that in a very positive way. So, I mean, do you feel like you have a bunch of competition with what Nancy's saying?
I do, yeah. I think that when you think of the urban scene in the UK, it's certainly controlled and ruled by London, the London scene, really, And to hear a hip-hop artist that's not from London but is from the UK is something that's very, very different. And I think that I love that. That's everything that I'm about. I love the feeling of being different. But the only downside to that is that it does make it quite hard to market yourself, to know your crowd, and to know which way to go. I almost feel like, and people may feel like I'm making excuses when I say this, but I almost feel like with my music, it's almost too pop for hip-hop and too hip-hop for pop. Do you know what I mean? And that's something that I feel like has possibly hindered me. But of course, I wouldn't change it because it makes it what it is. It's different. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like if it's going to go, something's going to go. It will be because it's as different as my music is. You know?
Exactly.
You really just
Power to you.
You really just need to come up with your own name. In other words, you have to brand it not as hip hop or as pop.
Yeah,
you need a new genre. And power be to the person who thinks of it first. I'm just telling you.
You got to have your own genre.
Make your own genre.
Yeah, you're at that point where you could do it. Totally.
Well, every success I've had thus far is from thinking outside the box. That as you said earlier, with the internet, yes, it makes it easier because you've got the potential to reach these people. But the trouble with that is everybody's got the potential to reach those people now.
Exactly.
So it does mean that you've got to think outside the box. And as you said, competition is good because it forces you to do that. And that's what will ultimately get me heard. Is me continuing to do that and continuing to be different and continuing to do things that other people don't do. Ultimately, the music is getting stronger and stronger, I believe, because I think Fireman is the best song I've ever done in 12 years of me writing. So I'm very, very happy at the moment.
Well, it's good. Because you should be, and I think it's great that you go and you stick to who you are, because that's true art. The minute you start not being pure to your art form, you've sold out, and that would suck. I'm just saying. And then it just becomes another one of the mill, and you have something. That's why when I first heard it, I was like, oh man, I want to book him. He's like, this is great.
It's time for a new genre.
Yeah, and Glenn, I know that you're the same way on this too. You've got to stick with your power, right?
Well, I personally, I totally agree with what Jake's doing, because he's doing what he's passionate about. And if you do anything that you're passionate about, then you're going to do it well, because it's your passion. I mean, that is the secret. The secret to a happy life is to do what you like doing.
Jake, what are you toasting to today? What are you happy about?
No, do you know what I'd like to toast to? In terms of Fireman, and the release and everything, it's all gone very, very well. It's gone down very well with sort of radio people, with blogs, and with the fans themselves, of course. But it's like, being the main artist on the track, I feel like I kind of get a lot of the credit, whereas, you've got to bear in mind that there was a producer that did that entire musical track before I even wrote the song. So without that, the song wouldn't exist. Of course, with Lisa Ambrose, who's also she's from Norfolk herself. She's featured on the track. As you know, phenomenal vocalist. And I'd just like to toast to 92 and to Lisa Ambrose for the role that they've played, not only in that track, but in my career as well.
I'd toast to that too. Good stuff. Jake, you rock, and we're going to play Illogical. I thought you wrote that for me. But tell us about that track.
Well, first and foremost, the producer, again, was the same guy, 92. He sent the track. And a lot of my tracks are between the hip-hop and R&B, and it's got that kind of smooth feel to it, whereas I kind of wanted to do, it's all about, doing something different and surprising people, and I kind of, he does a lot of house music himself, the producer. And I was listening to a lot of his house tracks, and I was kind of saying, do you know what, I can rap to some of those tracks. I don't feel like, because it's at that certain speed, you can't send that to me, do you know what I mean? He sent over the instrumental, and he said to me, you're either going to love this or you're going to hate it. And I said, no, I love it. And I started writing to it, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. It features Helena, who's a vocal coach from Suffolk, and it was great to get her involved as well.
Here's Illogical. Thank you for joining us, Jake. Everyone, jakealdridge.com. He's on Facebook, Twitter, all those great places. But go right to his website. You can click through and watch the videos. Good stuff out there. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. A big thanks to Steve as well for hooking me up with you guys.
Oh, yeah. Steve Schneikert, man, he's the dude.
He's the connector.
Yeah, he is. He's the ultimate connector. He's the connector. All right. Here it is, everybody. Illogical from Jake Aldridge.